Hello class, my name is Stephen Birch and today I'm going to talk about our nation's response to climate change. Today I'm going to talk about the following topics. Why is climate change so important to our nation's security? How our nation's focus has shifted over the years, and aspects of military readiness to include support equipment, vehicles, deployment assets, and examples of each one. And then we're going to discuss findings, solutions, and then we're going to wrap it up. So, why is climate change so important to our nation's security? Because it literally affects how we train, prepare, and deploy our troops downrange. But the problem is our focus in the last decade has always been war. We need to shift our focus to our military assets, being our support equipment, our vehicles, and our deployment assets. White explained in National Security Implications of Climate Change that we need to understand and comprehend that threat so that we can be better prepared to protect our nation's interests. So, talking about our support equipment, Dash 86. We use the Dash 86 to provide power to our aircraft so that the crew chiefs on the flight line can actually do their jobs. But how does climate change actually affect this asset? Well, back when I was stationed in Dover, Delaware, East Coast, it rained a lot. These generators have circuit cards inside of them, and if these circuit cards have standing water on them, it shorts them out, and then the unit won't operate properly. For vehicles, how does climate change affect our vehicles? Bobtail truck. I've used one of these personally to tow the Dash 86 to aircraft. When I was stationed at Elmendorf, Alaska, very cold out there. Diesel engines do not like cold weather. Just let one of those sit out all night long, it won't start for you. And then we got our deployment equipment. When I was stationed in Cannon Air Force Base, desert climate, lots of weird weather, changes. You let that equipment sit out for too long, it degrades a lot quicker than it's supposed to. So, how do we know this is a serious problem? Colonel Brosick states in Implications of Climate Change for the U.S. Army, he states that we need to look for better fuel alternatives and updated vehicles and make that a priority for the Army. These search results can actually be implemented and distributed throughout the branches, which has already been implemented already through some agencies, and they can utilize them as they see fit. Those diesel engines I talked about, if we had a better fuel efficiency or just a better alternative for the fuel, it might help mitigate that problem of the freezing. Brosick also quoted the Secretary of Defense, Mattis, who stated that he agreed that the effects of climate change, whether it be from Arctic rising sea levels or desertification, among others, would impact our security situation. That brings us back to the situation in Cannon Air Force Base, where we are having to put a spotlight on how climate change is reducing our equipment efficiency. So, what can be done to minimize this impact, and what has already been done? For the circuit cards, the Air Force has actually updated the maintenance manual to have us install a bracket that where the circuit board goes on it like this instead of laying flat, and that makes it to where the rainwater doesn't settle on the circuit card to short it out. In Alaska, some facilities are already making room in their buildings to store their vehicles, and it's helping. It really is. But the problem is that we don't have enough storage facility for vehicles. So of course, the main go-to is the ground heaters to heat up the engine block. As for Cannon, they already have policies in place now to make sure that we store deployment equipment inside to make sure that it doesn't degrade as quickly. So, takeaways from this? Yes, We are at war with terrorism, but we also need to focus on climate change. We need to focus on equipment integrity to make sure that we can carry out our objectives at home and overseas. And we need to understand that climate change is definitely a threat so that we can protect our assets better. There are the references. And are there any questions?